So now we'll kind of get into the photos real quick. Um, these are pretty straightforward, so I'll kind of get through these pretty quick. One of the first ones to take that's really important is this dorsal view. So this is just a top down. This really helps us look at color patterns, and when these are taken well, just with normal magnification, we can see the areola here, we can see the rostrum, see the areola, we see the areola here, the rostrum. We can tell if there's spines. We can get a lot of information just from these good dorsal views. Um, the big thing here is the color pattern. It's good if you can include the abdomen. It's not always necessary, but if you can, try to include that because there is some pattern and banding that can help with identification on the abdomen. The other is this lateral view. So this will kind of let us see the difference in the color patterns along the edge. With rusticus, this will allow us to see that rust patch. Um, Also, this will let us kind of know of body shape. Some species are more compressed than others, so they're flatter. Rusticus, for instance, is usually more compressed or dorsally compressed than Viralis. So that's another way you can kind of tell them apart. Rusticus tends to be pretty flat on top, where Viralis still has some it's still pretty round up top, where Rusticus is pretty flat. So these lateral views, that's something we can look at there. We can look at the spines here as well. Chelae, there's a couple different ways to do the chelae photos, like the one here on the left. You can isolate the chelae and take a single picture of one chelae. Try to take a picture of the original chelae if it has them. They don't always have chelae. I get it, that's fine. Sometimes when you hold them a certain way, you can get them to just flare out both chelae. This is perfectly acceptable. These are two regenerated chelae actually, because you can see that there's no inside margins are pretty homogeneous. And then when they're juveniles, you can almost just kind of pull them around because these aren't really going to hurt you. But again, as some of those things I mentioned earlier, chelae morphology, shape, also tells us a lot about what species it could be. Then finally, the rostrum. This is a good photo. Most of the time, you can get these photos just by um, most of the time you can get these photos just by taking your dorsal photo, and as long as it's of good quality, this is the same photo, just zoomed in. That's perfectly good. I edited this right on my phone, cropped it to that level, and then just uploaded it to the computer. Same, this is the previous photo. Here we can see the rostrum and the chelae shape. That's perfectly acceptable too. So this one you don't always have to take another picture for. If your dorsal picture is good and the chelae are kind of out, you can use that photo as well and we can work with that. It works perfectly fine. And the final is the gonopods. So females are pretty straightforward, just a straight photo of that annulus ventralis. Males, if you're comfortable with it, it helps if you can pull out the gonopods, whether it's form 1 or form 2, doesn't really matter. We can pull that out. Can pull those out a couple different ways. When you're in the field, if you have tweezers or forceps, forceps work great. A lot of us don't take forceps in the field. So another way that I found that works really well, if you're using a mechanical pencil, you can break off a little piece of pencil lead and kind of um, poke down in there and pry one and pull one up. Doesn't hurt the crayfish. And then you can leave that piece of pencil lead kind of in there, and it kind of will. I'll show an example here in a little minute with a preserved crayfish, but you can put that piece of pencil lead kind of in between down here at the base, and it'll kind of hold that up so you can photograph. That works for most species. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can't really get that gonopod picture out. A Just a picture of the gonopods while they're still um, up next to the individual will work fine if it's done from this similar kind of um, top-bottom view, kind of like what you would do with the female. So I saw there was a question about handling live crayfish. one of the best ways to pick them up is you just want to go in here behind the chelae. The chelae are the only thing really on there that can affect you. So if you go in and just kind of grab them right here behind the head, you can kind of hold them up here, keep your fingers back. She can't get to me now. So when you're taking photos, once you have them like this, you can kind of manipulate them with multiple hands. So if we take a dorsal view, you can kind of reach up here, and if you kind of slightly push down on the bottom edges of the arms of the chelae, and then you kind of can hold, oh, what's freaking out? You can kind of hold the body like this, grab my phone, and then with that, take your photo, you have your crayfish there, and you can snap your photo of the dorsal view, or of the side view. And then of the top view, same thing, kind of hold it like that, keep your fingers out of the way, you have a good top view. Um, then if when you have to do the chelae and the rostrum, you take her with another hand and kind of do this. And a lot of times when you do that, they will throw their chelae up like that. A lot of species will, a lot of specimens will. When they do that, you kind of just hold those chelae in place like so. She still can't get me. And then you just use your phone again, and you have a good uh, top view that shows the chelae perfectly well, and she still can't get to me. One of the best things I can tell you about this is just pick up and handle crayfish. Start with a small one and work your way up to bigger ones until you're comfortable. I would not start with a burrowing species because they can be a little more, they have a little more grip strength than stream dwellers, and they can hurt. Um, so when it comes to doing males, let me grab a specimen here real quick. Comes to doing males, this is a preserved Clark eye. Comes to doing males, you'll have these gonopods here, right here with the males. You can kind of get underneath there, and I can, um, after this, I can pull up the microscope and share my screen there and show you that. But what you can do here is you kind of pull up the gonopods right here, can pull them up with a piece of lead or a stick or anything, and then you can kind of see that right there, that piece right there. And if you leave the pencil lead in there, it'll keep that gonopod up like so, and you can snap a photo. It may take a couple times obviously with preserved specimens, it's easy because they're not fighting back. But this is a method that I use on live specimens in the field as well, and it typically works pretty well. It may take a couple tries to get exactly right, but it works. Another option is if you have somebody in the field with you, you're not by yourself, you can just pull that one up and have somebody else snap the photo while you hold that process up. Or that gonopod up works just as well.